Hi, everyone. Welcome to Morning Matcha. Today's guest is Lauren Egan, who's the VP of brand at Peckish, a fun refrigerated snacking company who's redefining what they're doing with the egg. Hi.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us. So fun. So we recently met at a fun women's brunch, Women in Food, and I luckily just sat next to you, and I hadn't heard about Peckish before, and then we started talking. You told me about Peckish, and then we ended up eating Peckish. And then, I don't know, just since then, I've been so intrigued with the company and what you guys are doing. And I love the branding. I love the flavors so much. And I've since then purchased it for myself several times. Just, I saw it at my local Whole Foods. And yeah, I've just been like really impressed, and I'm so excited to be here with you and learn more about the brand and the concepting of it and just kind of the journey, because there's so much that goes into it.
Oh, absolutely. And thank you so much for having us. It was great to meet you at Erewhon. I mean, I love Erewhon. I go there all the time when I go to LA. And it was great to be able to have Peckish there and have it sliced up on toast with some everything bagel seasoning, just to really switch it up. So, yeah, thanks so much for the time today.
Yeah, of course. So we're here in San Francisco. Have you always been based in San Francisco? Obviously, you sound like you're from somewhere
Australia,
else.
actually. Yeah. So, no, I was actually in New York for about 4 years when I first moved to the States. And I was working for another fresh snacking company, launching Chia Pod with them.
What were you launching?
Chia Pod. So it was the chia puddings with the spoon in the lid. Yeah.
And Is that what brought you to New York?
It was.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was doing their brand marketing when they launched, which was, fantastic. Such a fun time in New York, launching a brand. And really at the beginning of that, like sort of fresh snacking, one of those pioneering brands. So definitely learnt a lot. And since moving from New York, I worked for another shelf-stable snacking brand, but there's something about the fresh snacking space. It's really driving change and growth in the overall like snacking space and snacking industry. So it was definitely something I wanted to get back into really soon.
What were you doing before that? Like, what brought you into the food industry and just branding in general? Were you in branding before going into food?
Well, I was actually more on the experiential agency side when I was in Australia, and I worked more so on fashion brands rather than CPG, and like definitely love fashion. It's so fun. But as a healthy person, always like growing up, I love cooking. I would say that I'm like sort of that like home chef, type of person, and always experimenting with different foods and particularly healthy foods. That it was something that this opportunity came up in New York, and I thought, I've got to try, I've got to give it a go, and it's really worked out.
For that.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
So awesome.
Yeah.
And so how was developing that brand at that time? I mean, we don't have to get into Chia Pod, but just like you were saying, the fresh snacking industry was just kind of growing from healthy fresh snacking industry.
It was so different. And I mean, we are going through some of these challenges today, but what we know is that consumers are now shopping the perimeter. They're not really shopping in aisle. I know you're also like a healthy shopper as well, and we're buying a lot of produce and we're cooking our own things. But what are those convenient items that we also want to pick up at the same time? And one of the challenges was like, where do you go when there's not like a fresh snacking space within retail? These brands, particularly like Perfect Bar and Chia Pod and other fresh snacking brands, are really pioneering and going after that space around the perimeter and almost redefining the retail environment and creating these fresh snacking spaces. I remember with Chia Pod, because it didn't have, it was a non-dairy item, but there was like nowhere for it to go. Did it live in produce or did it live with yogurt?
Yeah.
So we would always get pushed into like puddings, like Cozy Shack, which isn't, as a consumer, you're not really going there in Whole Foods and buying Cozy Shack.
Yeah.
So it was just that ongoing effort with the marketing team and sales team to create demand outside of the store, as well as, demos and other things to really drive that brand awareness.
It's so true. And for people who aren't sure what you're saying about perimeter, most people, I guess, who are trying to be healthy don't travel in the center section of the grocery store. That's what you're talking about, right?
Absolutely.
Like, you go to produce and then you kind of go over to the refrigerated section, grab your milk,
Totally.
butter, maybe
eggs,
and now eggs. And then you go back down. I don't know what's on the other side. What is that? Like baked goods.
Baked goods, like the deli.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you leave. And so finding out the best space for your product is challenging.
So challenging. And it's just not, there's no silver bullet. It's continuous learning. And, we can talk about more of that with Peckish, but we're going through that right now as a young brand and where we're going to have success within retail.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then how did you get into Peckish?
So I was looking to move back into that fresh snacking space and looking for a brand. And I'd always really admired John Sebastiani and what he had done with Crave. So any opportunity to join the Sonoma Brands team, I was 100%, looking for that opportunity.
So you had known about him and his work?
I did, yeah. So,
and had you moved from New York to SF?
Yes, I had.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I was working for another brand based in Berkeley at the time.
Cool.
And funnily enough, I actually applied for the Smashmallow role, which was
what is it?
Smashmallow, which is a snackable marshmallow.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
which is like
so
everywhere now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that with his company?
That is one of the Sonoma brands.
Oh my gosh, he is just killing it. That's so cool.
He's doing great things, and I thought, what a great opportunity to work for Sonoma Brands. And when I was interviewing at the time, the person interviewing me was asked if I knew what peckish meant. Because it's not necessarily, it's a British word. And coming from Australia, I was like, oh, absolutely. It means like a little bit hungry or, not quite ready for a full meal, but want like a little mini meal or a snack. And she's like, perfect.
Oh my gosh. She's like, I know where I'm going to put you.
Yeah. And like at that time, I mean, I was already eating 2 eggs a day for breakfast, 2 boiled eggs. I have it like sliced with avocado and tomato. And obviously my last name is Egan, which sounds a lot like egg, which is what they told me.
Yeah.
And so it was sort of this mutually serendipitous situation. And I came on as the first employee for Peckish.
How did that feel for you? Were you excited? Were you a bit nervous, or you just believed in it right away?
I mean, I was sold. Like the first day I went in there to talk to John, it was exactly the right moment for me with my experience. And you don't get that many opportunities to come onto a brand as the first employee and like build the brand and the concept and do the product innovation and the branding. So definitely challenging, but like so exciting.
Yeah, definitely. So you helped develop like the brand, the packaging, the flavor, all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, peeling it right back, we knew that, from what John had done with Crave and really disrupting that jerky space and seeing his vision for how he could do that with the hard-boiled egg space. And, we believe that the future of snacking is fresh and refrigerated. So how do we, reimagine or redefine that hard-boiled egg and elevate that eating experience? So, the first part of that was really mastering the perfectly boiled egg, which took a really long time. It was a lot of trial and error, and especially when you're not, from a manufacturing side, when you're not doing things at scale and you're getting these different versions of the egg, and we're like, just as I said, like a lot of trial and error. And
you're not like sitting at home trying to figure out the recipe.
No, when we're sitting around and we're like, what is the perfectly boiled egg? And it's what we really try to achieve is the not too hard, not too soft, just how you like to make it at home. And I know we were talking about this earlier, but everyone you talk to has their own sort of personal ceremony with how they boil eggs. And I boil the water for like 20 seconds and then I drop the eggs in, then I take them out for 30 seconds and I put them in ice water, and just because everyone knows how they love their eggs.
I know. It's so nostalgic too. Like your childhood. Like for me, it reminds me of my parents making the eggs for me and all the different ways they prepared it for me. And then I personally, it's just so different. Like how do you peel it?
Totally.
Even that process.
Exactly. And, doing a lot of research. And if you've ever been to like Japan or anything like that, the hard-boiled eggs, or they're not even hard-boiled, the pre-packaged eggs that they have in like 7-Eleven, the 7-Eleven brand, are these beautiful, soft boiled, like jammy ramen eggs.
Wow.
And
they know how to make a good egg. They know how to do it.
Oh my God.
Sure.
And they do these like marinated ones, like the tea eggs. They look so beautiful, and is
that how you were, or he was inspired, or do you think?
I mean, we had been looking at like the whole egg category, and I mean, if you look at prepackaged hard-boiled eggs, like the current market, they're generally a little bit overcooked and the yolks are crumbly. The whites are a little bit rubbery.
Yeah.
It's not the best eating experience.
And I would say that they're targeting a different crowd. I would like the protein crowd, right?
Yeah. So you're just eating it for functionality, not for taste or anything like that. Absolutely. So we really, that was like the first thing to really, we had to differentiate ourselves from other hard-boiled eggs, on the market. So, the
flavoring idea was second, or did you kind of have that?
That was part of the whole concept. So I guess they were happening simultaneously. And we wanted to create, we always talk about elevating that eating experience. And we wanted to create an eating experience and a different like eating behavior almost. Like no one really dips their hard-boiled eggs like they do like a potato chip or anything like that. But we thought, what a fun way to build on our brand and our personality and creating these crispy, crunchy dips with and we were incredibly intentional about the ingredients that we use. We're using organic quinoa crispies or organic roasted pumpkin seeds, and then we're seasoning them with seasoning them to taste like or evoke like culinary inspired flavors like fried
it's very
rice
gourmet
or rancheros or maple waffles, which in itself is like really fun. And we put the quotes around it because it's not fried rice. It's made with organic quinoa crispies, but it's seasoned with tamari powder and dehydrated carrots and onions. So it's just so full of flavor, and then you get this like texture experience as well. So
good. I know even when we were sitting at the brunch, Tara from How You Glow, she was like, I use that for all my other cooking as well.
Yeah. I mean,
do you have people requesting to just buy
so
the flavoring?
Yeah, all the time.
The seasoning.
People are always asking when we're going to start selling the dip separately because, even though we've created it like this portable, convenient mini meal, which you can take and have it pre or post workout or have it at your quick lunch at your desk, we're seeing a lot of our consumers actually re-engineering their pec packs or what we call like upcycling their dips and slicing and putting their eggs on ramen and then sprinkling the fried rice on top, or how we had it at Erewhon with avocado toast with the eggs and then everything bagel seasoning. So, there's a lot of versatility to what we've created, and we're like very excited to see how our consumers are
how
using
it grows
the product
from there. Yeah, that's so awesome. So you were mentioning to me earlier that you guys source your eggs. You really try and source it from like within 100 miles from your facility.
Oh, yeah, really close. Yeah.
And obviously, as you grow, you kind of have to scale and like, grow that, but you really try to keep it close and reduce your carbon footprint.
Absolutely.
And how's that been now that you're scaling and getting into so many wonderful stores? Yeah.
So we, obviously egg sourcing, any sort of like animal product sourcing, there's a lot of criteria that we hold ourselves like, accountable to. So we wanted to make sure that we had, the best organic eggs, locally sourced, and that they were free range and certified humane. And, what we were talking about before is we really strive to source our eggs from a network of organic farms that are very close to where we do, like our co-manufacturers, so that we can really reduce our carbon footprint. But as we do scale, we'll be looking to expand to farms probably closer, like or further out in California. But there's definitely. We're very intentional about our sourcing. Yeah.
And since you've been there from the very beginning, like how's that been? Have you been, I mean, obviously, yes, you're VP of brand, but you're wearing so many different hats.
So many different hats.
Were you the one finding who those farmers were? This network, obviously John has a big network, but you're the main person spearheading this.
Yeah. So, I mean, at the very beginning, and like this, I look back and it's like such a fun time. Like you're not only are, we working on the packaging and the branding, but, sourcing ingredients like the crispy quinoa and all of those things. And when working with, our egg partner on like, where are we going to source our eggs from? How do we do that? What's the process? How do we, hold these farms accountable to our criteria and so forth? all of that sort of stuff in the beginning, and you literally have your fingerprints on every single part of the brand in the very beginning.
Yeah, it happens all at once versus like a linear step-by-step process.
And like even I remember like one of the hardest things, I had never done any operations before in my previous role, but trying to find someone to fill those tiny cups with the dips, because those little cups were usually filled with like ketchup or mayonnaise, so no one was actually filling them with any dry.
So you're just calling a bunch of co-packing companies.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so you guys formulated the flavors in-house. I'm assuming. Okay, and then you go and just try and see.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a really big challenge, and it takes a while, and it requires a lot of persistence. My husband is trying to start something right now in the beverage industry, and just like with canning water and whatever, and that's not really a thing right now that many water people are willing to do. It's like plastic or glass.
Exactly.
And so most people, when they don't want change, they like their processes, and they're not interested in veering away. So how did you end up finding someone that would?
I mean, it was a lot of phone calls and a lot of, you really have to sell them on the concept and the brand and what you're trying to create. And you need to be able to, again, as I said, like sell them to take a risk with you, understanding that we're going to all grow together and we're going to scale. And we talk about how we're going to scale. It's not just, we just need this at the beginning. It's like, help us build the brand and we'll do it together. And sell them on that vision. And it really helps having, John and what he's done with Sonoma Brands and Crave and what we've done with Smashmallow and Medley, our other brands. So
what's that one?
Medley is a sippable soup. It's a veggie drink. Yeah. And they've just launched a line of like spoonable veggie, like mush, is what they're calling it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'll have to look into it.
So clean, so tasty. Yeah.
So it really helps to be able to show as a case study, like, look at what we've done here. It's definitely in your best interest to grow with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
And help us out here and try something new. But what are some of the other challenges that, like, I don't know, just being a woman in the food space, for some reason, it's very male dominated.
Yeah.
And now we're seeing all these incredible women who are chefs and who are coming out with, I mean, women in obviously like in the household, a very traditional way of looking at things. Yes, women in the past have been the one that's at the household that's making the food, but just career wise, there aren't that many that have been making a full-blown career out of it. So I'm just interested what that's been like for you.
Totally. I've been very lucky in my career, and even, back in Australia, I've always had very strong female mentors. And when I was at Cheerpod, our CMO, April Seiler, was so committed to growth and ensuring that I was able to see all parts of the business and have a voice as well. So not just in marketing, which I think is so valuable. And it's something that, I try to make sure that our team knows their path for growth and they're exposed to the good things and the bad things within the business, so that we're not just siloed to, you're just doing social media or you're just doing marketing. It's like, well, here's some of our operational challenges and here's how it affects like the whole business. Because that then, and we all have a stake in the game. So we want this to be successful. So I think it's important to have that transparency and, there's nothing that like, you shouldn't know because you're in this role. It's like, we're all in this together. We're a team of like 6 people, grinding every single day. So I think it's important to share, as I said, the good and the bad.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Do you still have those mentors?
I do. Yes. Yeah.
The same ones, or have they kind of shifted, or are you always looking for people to learn from?
I mean, always. I think that, as you said, there aren't as many, big female founders and so many within the food business. But there are more and more. So
really
always do try to connect and grow my network. And it's always so, it makes you just feel like, thank God there's someone else that may have been like going through this. And, a lot of what we do as well, and I think for any founder, is like, you're learning on the fly. So having been able to share those sorts of stories with other people and
what they've learned.
And, you know, they was like, don't worry, like you'll figure it out. And I felt like that was a lot of Peckish in the first like 6 months. It was, you know, John was so supportive and he was, you know, just like, I'm sure you know, if you need me for anything, but, you know, get out there and trial and error and you work it out. And I'm always here. So
this is your project. I'm here to like support you, but you're the main one and you're going to make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
It's been fantastic, especially, you know, I'm 33, so I'm very lucky to have this opportunity at this age.
Yeah. So how does it feel when you go into a grocery store and see it?
Oh my goodness. There were so many tears. So we launched in Erewhon. We did like a soft launch with them, which was fantastic.
When was that?
Just at the end of 2018 in December.
So very recent.
Very
6
recent.
months.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And oh man, I can't even describe it. It was such like an out of body experience. I think I was also like almost like scared to like touch it. Like, is it real? Is it out there? And it just looks so beautiful with the packaging. And it was great to see people and talk to people in store. And, you know, I do demos all the time. My whole team does. It's so important to be out there and talking to the consumer in that real time and learning. We're in this like hyper absorbent phase right now where we're trying to extract as many like insights and data points that we can in real time, because it's in this first 6 to 12 months that you can pivot and you can turn the dials and you can change things. Like I've already changed different things on packaging. How do we communicate that better and faster on packaging? So
that's really impressive.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it's hard to change things. It's important to stay flexible.
Yeah. You have to be super agile.
Yeah. It's like, how do we stay flexible, but then consistent at the same time? So like, what are some of the things that you changed in packaging that you felt was better to get the point across?
The first thing was we didn't have a window on the box, so on the Peck Pack. And because we don't have any it's all illustrations and vector files, which is great. It's beautiful packaging, but
people want to know what it looks like.
What is exactly in the box. And it's funny, like we all scratch our heads and like, oh yeah, why didn't I think of doing eggs in a dip? Like it seems so simple, but the actual concept we're finding is like, oh, you know, and maybe this is the nature of the natural industry or where we are right now. People are like, oh, are these real eggs? Are they shelf stable?
Yeah.
Are they made from like cauliflower? Are they vegan? Like what's going on? And we're like, no, these are real eggs. That's what's inside here. And also that eating behavior. So they're coming with a dip. So what we did is we've added a window on the side. So now you can see the eggs and the dip. And also, you know, coming from fresh, it cues fresh having a window as well. So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you had to go back and find that package or someone to make that, or did you?
So you know, when we first launched, we launched like our MVP of our product. So it was like the easiest way to get it out there that we can communicate the packaging. So we used a carton instead of doing any investment into like big sort of custom packaging.
Yeah.
And we knew that a carton could be updated and changed pretty quickly and easily. So I just worked with the engineering team from our carton vendor and got them to include a window in the packaging. We prototyped it. We moved the opening to the front so that was clearer. So like really simple, easy things to do.
But I know you're saying it's simple and easy, but it's really like it's a lot.
Yeah.
And to give yourself credit for that, because it still requires a lot of time back and forth trying to just tweak it. And
I mean, it was
crazy.
the first round of demos that we were getting feedback where, you know, consumers are like, oh, I'm not really sure what's inside the box. And it's like straight away. At Erewhon and Whole Foods in SoCal. So, you know, it's just one of those things that it was this light bulb, like, we've got to do this straight away. So just got that into motion and now, you know, we're seeing that come to market in like 3 or 4 months. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, it's so fun to learn more about Peckish and all the other things that you guys are up to with Sonoma Brands in general, but just what you're doing. And I can just feel how passionate you are about it. I'm so excited to see what you guys are up to next. And
thank you.
Thank you for sharing some of the story with us.
Thank you for having me. It was great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.